like to introduce myself as an artist now so that you can not only meet me and see that influence in my life, and I guess also have another example of how an interview with an artist might generate stimulation for you, either as an artist or someone just interested in art and concepts and likes to have their brain stimulated by different ways ideas can become visual form. So these works behind me are works that I did throughout the time of COVID. And at that time I was doing a lot of mindfulness practice. And so I brought that mindfulness practice of my own experience into my artwork because I was really interested in that idea of how we have sort of this container that is how we're experiencing the world. And as a therapist, there is that interplay between the interrelational experience of other things and how they impact us, and then also where we can find boundaries. And so I guess this works on the level of looking at that in terms of mood and disruption within the body, and then thinking about that as a meditator or someone who was really enjoying the exploration of what is mindfulness and how does that affect my everyday. I looked at exploring that visually. And so I guess if you look on this side, you can see I work with that circle, the circle being my being and representing that in a certain way that feels like it was contained and allowed a particular horizon line. So you'll find that in these circles, there's always a horizon line. So that being that sense of viewpoint. And so I was playing with ideas of some of them have words and language in them, and they're small pieces, and these are bigger ones, but they also have color and mood within them. So the mood is another thing that might have been, a consideration in thinking, where did I begin and what has entered? And so some of them are reflective of when I was doing particular meditations, or I was just exploring a certain experience. And also, I guess at the time I was doing a lot of walking because luckily enough, living on the coast, I had the opportunity to go down to gorgeous beaches and explore them, which is thus why I've got this one over here, which is, something that I've done more as a realistic piece. But with that as my horizon line, I had that sense of exploring how am I connected and where is it that I am and where do I exist within where that experience enters me as a person, and where am I separate to it. So it was sort of, a real play on that in that really quiet time of COVID, as my 10 minutes of exercise that we got, or was it more? And then this piece here is also, I guess, again, using that circle form, but a very different mood. I'm not sure that one's actually finished, but it's sitting waiting to know whether or not it's finished. And then I'll take you over here. So then this piece here may or may not look as big as it is, but if I get close to it, you can see it's a really large piece. And so this was very different in its process because as a large piece, as something that I had to relate to in a very different way, I was getting bracken from around where I live, and I was putting that, putting paint around that to get a textural feeling. But if you get up close, it's very subtle and in terms of being almost blurry. But I really like the idea of using real objects when creating as well. Also, where I live, I'm fortunate enough to have Bunjil on Wathaurong country. That is where I reside. And we're lucky enough to have 2 Bunjils that fly over around this area. So this is a little bit around that idea of the horizon line being slightly different. So when exploring that sense of being down underneath and in the bracken, but looking up, and then also having another viewpoint for clarity. So again, I was sort of exploring those ideas of where perspective can come from within nature. And I guess in my relationship with nature, feel like I can gain different perspective from it. So in this one, there is no horizon line, but then the eagle and Bunjil and the bracken give a different context in terms of perspective. And within that, then again, those intercepting lines. And if you get quite close to it, the whole background is just intercepting lines of, with this one, I guess, more that construction of things that are potentially external to the natural world. And in this piece, most of that interference or disruption to the natural world comes from more internal experience of thoughts, which I guess is one of those things within art that I find quietens, but I find the visual forum of when I'm exploring something that is in the realm of, literal form, it gives a way of me connecting whatever else is there for me. And that's just done simply with line and stroke and a movement that kind of, like if you think about airwaves or a TV with static or anything that might have some sort of static to it, I guess it's that thing that creates interference. And where I have the clarity is where I guess I'm trying to represent that place of what I'm trying to attain when being mindful. But in this case, the mindfulness is going toward perspective of being in an environment and really taking it in, which is why the eagle is also so clear. So I can ramble when it comes to my artwork, but I guess it's one way that you will be able to learn about artists, because you'll see them as they are, nervous, doing whatever hand gestures they do because they don't know what to do in front of a camera. Whatever it is that is part of who that artist is will come out and be shared with you. With you as the listener being able to have a way into artwork that is really different, because through these interviews, what I hope to do is allow the artist to give an understanding as to who they are, what they're exploring, and how that's then come about in an image form. So I hope I've done that for you today by explaining a little bit around this series of work that I have been doing. And I hope my explanation makes sense. It does to me. So I hope I can give you something to consider when you're out in nature looking around, or considering how your own thoughts might be creating static to your ability to be present and experience the environment around you. And I hope you like my work. See you soon.